Hello everyone, welcome to Infinity Concepts. I am Adit Shah and we are at the 7th chapter of quantitative methods, which is hypothesis testing. A very important chapter to understand and also very well tested in examination. It is a little bit tricky, but then we are going to understand the whole chapter very well today. So all your eyes and ears and your mind and your focus over here in this particular chapter, this is what we will be requiring today. So let us go ahead. Let us see what are we going to learn over here in this chapter. The 7th chapter, hypothesis testing, very important. Okay, introduction and steps to hypothesis testing, then understanding what p-value is and different types of errors. So there are two types of errors, type 1 and type 2 error that we will be seeing. Test concerning single means. So in that we'll be seeing Z distribution and T distribution. We have already learned how to calculate Z distribution and T distribution. Test concerning differences between means. So independent samples are there, then we will be using t-test. Test concerning mean differences. If they are dependent samples, then we will be using t-test. Test concerning single variance, we will be using chi-square test, and test concerning single equality of variances, we will be using f-test. Now this is what we are going to learn. For the time being, just understand that we will be learning what hypothesis testing is. Then next we will be learning is the p-value and the types of error. So type 1 and type 2 error. This is what we'll be learning. Then we will be learning when to use z-test, t-test, chi-square test and f-test. So these are the 4 tests that we are going to learn. Z-test and t-test, how to calculate, that we have already seen. Chi-square and f-test is also similar, like not materially different. It is just a slight variance or change, nothing much difficult. That is what we will be seeing. So first let us understand what hypothesis testing is, right? Right now whatever I am speaking about hypothesis testing, it is going above your head. So what this hypothesis testing is, let us see what it is. So introduction. There's a population. The population is 22,000 stocks on Asian stock market, different stock markets, like there will be Indian stock market, say Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange. Korea will be having its own stock market. Japan will be having its stock market. Singapore, Hong Kong, China, Shanghai Composite, and all of these, whatever the stocks are there on these stock exchanges. As an example, say for example, it is 22,000 stocks. Now, what were the return of these 22,000 stocks last month? Now, it's a huge population. How are we going to calculate that? It's very expensive and time consuming to calculate the exact return or the mean return of all these 22,000 stocks. So what are we going to do? We are going to conduct some analysis, and this is known as hypothesis testing. So what are we going to do? We believe and thus proclaim that average return on all the publicly traded Asian stocks last month was greater than 4%. However, we have not calculated mu. Mu is what? Mu is the average mean, that is the mean. Population mean is known as mu, and if it is a sample mean, it will be known as x bar. Okay, so however, we have not calculated the mu of all those 22,000 stocks. So now what are we going to do? We are going to put a definitive statement or an assertion called as hypothesis, and then we are going to test that hypothesis. We then take a sample and test statistically whether the assertion that we have made is correct or not. This is called as hypothesis testing. Now, let me just simplify whatever I have said right now. There is a population of 22,000 stocks on the Asian stock markets, different stock markets. We want to know what is the mu. Mu is the mean of all those 22,000 stocks. Now this is very difficult. We can't calculate for everything, and therefore what are we going to do? For that, we are going to make a declaration. We are going to make a statement. The statement will be, just as an example, the statement will be, that return on all those 22,000 stocks last month was greater than 4%. Now, we have not done any analysis, we have not actually calculated the mean of those 22,000 stocks, but yet we have made a statement in the market. Now, after making the statement in the market, we are going to test whether the statement that I have made is correct or not. And that is what we are going to do statistically. This is known as hypothesis testing. So, whatever the statement that I have made, I will have to statistically prove whether I am right or wrong in putting that statement. This is known as hypothesis testing. So first, I am going to make a statement. The statement will be that the mean of 22,000 stocks on Asian stocks market last month was greater than 4%. This is the statement that I have made. Now, I will statistically prove whether I am right or wrong. So, for that, I am going to take out a sample. That sample I am going to test through hypothesis testing. If, say, for example, the hypothesis testing is giving us correct results or giving us the results that we desire, then our statement that we have made will be correct. Or it will give us some results due to which we will understand that the statement that we have made is not correct. Fine? Understood? Shall we move ahead? As and when we go ahead, we will understand what exactly are we doing over here. But the basic contention is, first you make a statement in the market, you make an assertion in the market. After that, you statistically prove through hypothesis testing whether the statement that you have made in the market is correct or not. For the time being over here, what is the statement that we have made? The statement that we have made right now is that the mean, that is the population mean of all those 22,000 stocks on Asian stock market is more than 4%. This is the mean. This is what we have said in the market. However, we have not calculated the population mean. Okay, it can be something different. What? That we don't know. But now we are statistically going to prove that whether the mean of all those 22,000 stocks right now is greater than 4% or not, that we are going to test through hypothesis testing. So let us move ahead. How to do hypothesis testing? So these are the 7 steps of hypothesis testing. State the hypothesis, select the appropriate test statistic and probability distribution, whether it is a normal distribution or not a normal distribution, whatever. Third, specify the significance level, 5% significance level, 10% significance level, 1% significance level, whatever. Fourth, state the decision rule. Fifth, collect the sample and calculate the sample statistic. Sixth, make a statistical decision by comparing the test statistic and the sample statistic. And the seventh one, make a decision based on the results of the test. This is what your the hypothesis testing is. Now these 7 steps we are going to condense into 4 steps which you need to remember. Those are 7 steps, but they are overlapping somehow, and therefore I have just cut short in 4 steps which you need to remember in the exam as well. Always only 4 steps. Okay, don't go by the textbook or whatever the study material that you are using. There are 7 steps over there. No doubt there are 7 steps, but for the exam perspective, whenever you are reading the question and you are solving the problem, 4 steps needs to be there in your mind. You do these 4 steps and you come to the answer. What are the 4 steps? First, state the hypothesis. Hypothesis means whatever the assertion or the statement that you have made, based on that you will have to state the hypothesis. 2. Compute the test statistic. When we go ahead, we will see what test statistic is. Third one, determine the critical value based on the significance level. So what is the significance level? 1%, which means confidence interval is 99%. Or significance level can be 5%, which means the confidence interval is 95%. Or significance level can be 10%, which means confidence interval is 90%. Whatever the significance level is, and based on that the critical value, which means by going to the Z table or T table, go and find out what the critical value is. 1.65, 1.96, 2.98, 2.58. This is what we had done, right? When we go ahead, we will see again. This is what we had done in the last chapter. Anyways, don't worry. When we go ahead, we will be revising again whatever we have done earlier. And the fourth one, compare the test statistic with and the sample statistic and accordingly reject or do not reject the null hypothesis. So this test statistic needs to get compared with the critical value, and accordingly you will come to know whether to reject or not to reject the null hypothesis. So 4 steps: state the hypothesis. Second one, calculate the test statistic. Third one, calculate the critical value based on the significance level and confidence interval. And the fourth one is give out the results. Whatever the result can be, either you reject the null hypothesis or you do not reject the null hypothesis. Now the word null that we have learned right now, we will be seeing what the null hypothesis is. So let us go ahead. State the hypothesis. The first step. So what is the assertion? Assertion or the statement that you have already made to the world. So what is the statement that you have already made to the world? Average return on all publicly traded Asian stocks last month, which means all the 22,000 stocks, the mean of that was greater than 4%. This is what you have said. Now you have not actually calculated all those 22,000 stocks return last month and then taken a mean of that 22,000 stocks, and whether it is really coming 4.5% or 4.7% or something more than 4%, or it is coming less than 4%, that you have not actually calculated, but you are just making a statement. Somehow you are making a statement. What came to your mind, I don't know, but then you have made a statement that the return was more than 4%. Now we are going to start hypothesis testing to understand or statistically test whether the statement that we have made is really correct or not. So let us start stating the hypothesis. So what is the hypothesis? Now there is a null hypothesis. There is this null hypothesis is what we want to reject. Now one thing that we are not believing. So remember over here, based on whatever the assertion or the statement that we have made, there is going to be two things: a null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis. A null hypothesis is written like this: H0, which is your null hypothesis, and alternative hypothesis is written as HA. This is your alternative hypothesis. So what are we saying over here? Null hypothesis. A null hypothesis is such that we always want to reject. Null hypothesis should be such which is opposite of what we have said in our statement. In our statement over here, we have said that the return, the mean return last month is more than 4%. This is what we have said. So when the null that we make, that null will be that the return last month was less than or equal to 4%. Remember, the statement that we have made over here, it says that last month the returns were greater than 4%. So now we have to make two hypotheses, a null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. What will be null hypothesis? Null hypothesis will be something which is opposite of what we have said in our statement. We have said in our statement that the return last month was greater than 4%. This is what is your statement. So the null hypothesis will be opposite of that. So the null hypothesis will be, over here it is written, your null hypothesis will be mu. Mu is your population mean. Population mean of less than or equal to 4%. Is this opposite of what we have said in our statement? Yes. So your null hypothesis is something that is opposite of what is there in your statement. Remember, a null hypothesis is something which should definitely have some sign of is equal to. This is equal to sign should come in your null hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis is opposite of your null hypothesis, which means something that matches with your statement. So alternative hypothesis is going to be population mean greater than 4%, and this is what we have said over here in the statement. See, so your null and alternative hypothesis you are going to make like this. Remember, you will feel very happy when you reject the null hypothesis. You always want to reject the null hypothesis because this is when you will feel happy. You will feel proud that the statement that you have made is statistically proved correct. When you reject the null hypothesis. So you will be very happy if somehow you reject the null hypothesis. But if you do not reject the null hypothesis, if the test results are such that you fail to reject the null hypothesis, then you will be very sad, because then the statement that you have made is actually not correct. In reality, the statement should have been opposite of that. Fine. Let me summarize. State the hypothesis again. You have given out a statement to the world that Asian stocks return last month was more than 4%. Now we are going to do hypothesis testing to test statistically whether the statement that we have made is correct or not. So for that we are going to do hypothesis testing. Now hypothesis testing that we are going to do right now, we'll have to first go with step 1, which is state the hypothesis. When we go about stating the hypothesis, there are two things. First, understand what the null hypothesis is, and then opposite of that will be alternative hypothesis. So null and alternative hypothesis you will have to state. What will be the null hypothesis? Null hypothesis will be something which is opposite of the statement that you have made. The statement that you have made over here is that the population mean is more than 4%. That is the statement that you have made. So your null hypothesis will be something which is opposite of that. Remember to always put some kind of is equal to sign in the null hypothesis. So over here, opposite of the statement is your null hypothesis is less than or equal to 4%. This is what your null hypothesis will be. Remember, you always want to reject the null hypothesis, because when you reject the null hypothesis, remember, null hypothesis is something which is opposite of your statement, and therefore you always want to reject the null hypothesis so that you are finally satisfied that the statement that you have made is correct. This is what your null hypothesis is. Obviously, opposite of your null hypothesis will be the alternative hypothesis. So your HA, alternative hypothesis, will be population mean greater than 4%. Remember, in alternative hypothesis, there won't be the is equal to sign over here. Fine. So this is your null and alternative hypothesis. What is the null hypothesis? Something that we always want to reject, one that we are not believing, one which is opposite of the statement. This is what your null hypothesis is. Always include some kind of a is equal to sign in it. It is compulsory. And alternative hypothesis is what we are trying to assess. That is the one that we are believing in it. One which represents your statement. So HA gets accepted when H0 gets rejected. So what is it that we are going to say? We are going to say reject the null hypothesis, wherein we will be very happy. Okay, reject the null hypothesis and do not reject the null hypothesis. We never say that accept the alternative hypothesis or reject the alternative hypothesis. No, we are never going to use all of these words. We will only be saying these words. Reject the null hypothesis, which actually means accepting the alternative hypothesis, but we will never use that accept the alternative hypothesis. These words are never going to be used. Only say the words reject the null hypothesis. In your mind, you can understand that, okay, it means that we are accepting the alternative hypothesis, but there is no need to write down anywhere, because it is not correct to say like that. We will always use reject the null hypothesis and do not reject the null hypothesis. These are the words you will be using. Let us go to the second step. Now the second step is computing the test statistic. Now what it is? Test statistic is based on the sample whose value is the basis for deciding whether to reject or not to reject the null hypothesis. So test statistic is something that you will be calculating based on the sample that you have collected. Now there are 22,000 stocks on all the different Asian stock markets. Out of that, we are going to do a random, which is your simple random or stratified random sampling. So you did that sampling and you came out with some kind of a sample. Accordingly, you would have got sample's mean. This sample mean is known as sample statistic. Remember, if it was a population mean, we would be calling it as a population parameter. If it is a sample mean, we are calling it as a sample statistic. Now this sample statistic we are talking about over here is the mean. So we are talking about the sample mean. So X bar is your sample mean minus whatever the sample mean. Say for example, you took up 50 stocks from all the 22,000 stocks. You only picked up 50 stocks. Of those 50 stocks, the sample mean, now that is simple to calculate. Okay, you are not calculating 22,000 stocks mean. Now you are calculating only 50 samples mean. So that is very simple. Say for example, you got some 6% as the mean of that sample. So X bar will be 6% minus hypothesized value. So 4% is the hypothesized value. Just see over here. What is the hypothesized value over here that we have used? This 4% is what we have used. See, what is the number that we have used in the statement? 4%. That is known as the hypothesized value. So 4% is your hypothesized value. So X bar minus 4%, which is your hypothesized value. Over here we will be using 4%. Divide by standard error of the sample statistic. Now what the standard error is? Standard error is your population standard deviation. If at all population standard deviation is not given, then use sample standard deviation. But then some kind of a standard deviation. In a best case, population standard deviation. In a worst case, sample standard deviation. So your standard error is standard deviation divided by root of n. N is the sample size. This is your standard error. So your X bar minus 4%, which is your hypothesized value, divide by standard error, and your standard error is standard deviation divided by root of n. Now this is what your test statistic is. Say for example, this is your population. Population is having a standard deviation of 6%. This is what we know. We took out a sample. Sample is of 36 stocks and the sample's mean is 6%. Then what will be the t statistic? The t statistic will be sample statistic, which is your 6%, which is what you have calculated of the sample, minus hypothesized value is the 4%. This is what your hypothesized value is, 4%, divided by standard error of sample statistic. Now what is your standard error? Standard error is population standard deviation divided by root of n. So population standard deviation is 6% divided by root of n. So root of 36. So that comes to, this is again 6. So 6 and 6 cancel, 6 minus 4. T statistic is 2. Your T statistic is 2. So this is your step 2. Remember, step 1 was state the hypothesis, what it is, null, what it is, alternative, what it is. You will have to state. Step number 2, calculate the test statistic. The third one is determine the critical value based on the significance level. Now what is the significance level? If we are performing a one-tailed test at 5% significance level, then what it is? Now what is a one-tailed and a two-tailed test? Remember, whenever you are using greater than and less than signatures in your null hypothesis and your alternative hypothesis, whenever you are using mu more than 4% or maybe the null hypothesis, an alternative hypothesis will be like this. This is what we have used. So what is your null? your null is more than 4% and your alternative is less than 4%. It is only like this. It means it should be a one-tailed test. Say for example, we were saying that your null is 4% and your alternative is not equal to 4%, which means your null is 4%, something more than 4% and something less than 4%, both of which is your alternative hypothesis. Then this is a two-tailed test. What is there in the first one? In the first one, you are saying that your null hypothesis is something which is more than 4%. And the alternative hypothesis is something which is less than 4%. Only two parts, and therefore over here we are saying that this is a one-tailed test. But if say for example null is like this, null is equal to 4% and alternative is on both the sides of the null, if it is more than 4% also or if it is less than 4% also, if that is your alternative, then in that particular case you will be doing a two-tailed test. Why two-tailed test? Because over here your null is what you are saying as 4%, and if something more than 4% also and less than 4% also, both of them on both the sides of your null there is alternative, then at that point of time you will be using two-tailed test. Over here only on one side there is null and on the other side there is alternative, whereas over here there is null and on both the sides of the null there is alternative hypothesis, and therefore this you will be doing a two-tailed test, this you will be doing a one-tailed test. What are we having over here? What are we having over here? We are having mu less than or equal to 4%. The null hypothesis is something which is less than 4%. Null hypothesis which is less than 4%, and alternative hypothesis which is more than 4%. So over here there are only two parts. Less than 4% is null, more than 4% is alternative. So it means we will be doing a one-tailed test. Well, if it was null hypothesis equal to 4% and some alternative hypothesis not equal to 4%, then it means your null is in between 4%. Something more than null, say for example 10%, 11% coming, that is also alternative, or something less than 4%, maybe 1%, 0%, minus 2%, whatever, but less than 4%, that is also your alternative. On both the sides of null, if there is alternative, that will be your two-tailed test. Over here we are doing a one-tailed test only. Now if this is a one-tailed test and you are asking for a 5% significance level, what do we mean by significance level? A 5% significance level means 95% confidence interval, which means you want to tell to the world that with 95% confidence you can say that Asian stock market, 22,000 stocks on the Asian stock market return was more than 4%. Remember, you can never say with 100% confidence that the statement that you have said is correct. Okay, with 100% confidence you can never say. That you can say only when you actually calculate for all the 22,000 stock. But right now we are not calculating for all those 22,000 stocks, and that is why we are doing this hypothesis testing, right? Because we want to test only 36. We want to take out only a sample of 36 stocks, and then we want to say with 95% confidence or with a 90% confidence or maybe with a 99% confidence. But with 100% confidence we can never say. So over here we are saying with a 95% confidence that the returns on all those 22,000 stocks last month was more than 4%. We want to say this, but with a 95% confidence only, because 5% is the significance level, which means 5% chances are there that the statement that we have made and also statistically prove that it is right, but then there are still 5% chances that it may actually go wrong, or in reality when you actually calculate for those 22,000 stocks, the return may be less than 4%. What does significance level mean? significance level means that with a 95% confidence and a 5% significance level, and with a 95% confidence, I can say that this statement is correct and it is statistically proved also, but only with a 95% confidence. There are still 5% chance that after me saying this statement, also doing hypothesis testing and also getting the hypothesis testing correct by rejecting the null hypothesis, I'm very happy now and I can say to the world that 95% I'm correct, or I'm saying this with 95% confidence that the returns are more than 4%. But there are still 5% chance that the returns may be less than 4%. This is what significance level is. So if we perform a one-tailed test at 5% significance level, it means your significance level is over here. This is what your 4% mu is. The hypothesized value is 4%. This is your significance level. So over here the area is 5% and over here the area is 95%. Remember, this is a one-tailed test. In a one-tailed test, if they have asked the significance level as 5%, then the whole of that 5% is going to sit in your one tail only, which is on this particular side. Remember, this is what is your one-tailed test. If I say we perform a two-tailed test with a 5% significance level, then no doubt there will be 5% significance, but it will be under both the ends, on the both the tails, and there will be 2.5% in each tail. Remember, this is what we had done previously also in the previous chapter. So once again, when I use the word this is a two-tailed test, or say for example you come to know by seeing at the hypothesis, this is your hypothesis equal to 4% and alternative hypothesis not equal to 4%. As soon as you look at this particular thing, you will come to know that this is a two-tailed test. And now if they are asking you that you perform the test with a 5% significance level, then automatically in your mind you should understand that this is a two-tailed test. They have asked for a 5% significance level. It means that under one tail there will be only 2.5%. In the exam, the question will not mention that, remember, this is a two-tail test. So if I use the word 5% in the exam question, then you actually have to divide that into two tails, which is 2.5 and 2.5. All of this explanation will not be given in your question. This is what we have to understand, that if this is a two-tail test and if they have asked a 5% significance level, then there will be 2.5 under both the tails. If this was a one-tail test, and this is what we are doing, right? This is a one-tail test. If this is a one-tail test and they have asked for 5% significance level, then the whole thing, the whole 5% will be lying over here in the right tail over here, because we have used mu more than 4%. What is it that we have used? Mu less than or equal to 4 and mu more than 4 is your alternative hypothesis. So this is what it is. Now we want to determine the critical value based on the significance level. So what are we going to do? We perform a one-tail test at a 5% significance level. As per Z distribution, the critical value corresponding to 5% significance level is 1.65. So remember what have we done earlier? When there was a two-tail test, in your two-tail test at 90%, 95% and 99%, what was the Z critical value? This was 1.65, this was 1.96 and this was 2.58. Remember, when I use 90% over here, there is 5% and 5% under each tail. There is 2.5 and 2.5 in each tail, and there is 0.5 and 0.5 percentage in each tail, right? And now when we do one tail test, remember, in a one tail test, if I use the word 90%, 95% and 99%, then how this will be? Under this, there will be 10% under one tail only. there will be 5% under one tail only, and there will be 1% under one tail only. So this 5%, is that resembling to this, right? Therefore, the critical value will be 1.65. And this is what you will have to remember. This is what you have already remembered for two-tailed test. Even in the previous chapter, I had told you that you need to memorize this, you need to by heart this. Even at midnight, if I wake you up from your deep sleep, you should remember this particular thing. So this is what we have already done. 1.65 you remember, 1.96 also you remember, 2.58 also you remember. This was for two-tail test. For one-tail test, 90%, 95% and 99%. This 95% is similar to 90% of two-tail test, which means 5 and 5 under both the tails. So that critical value is 1.65. This 90% over here you will have to remember. If you don't remember, you can go and check in the Z table as well. It will be 1.28. And over here 99% will be 2.33. Fine. This is what your Z table is. 1.28 and 2.33 is something new that you have learned. You need to memorize this as well. Now this is what it is. This is a one-tail test and 5% is the significance level. At 5%, this is 1.65. Right? So your critical value is 1.65. So your third step is understanding what your significance level is, determining whether you are using one-tail test or a two-tail test, and then finally determining the critical value. Once you have used the critical value, then the fourth step is compare the test statistic. Remember, over here on this side, we reject the null hypothesis, and this 95% we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Your test statistic was 2 and your critical value is 1.65. So 1.65 is your critical value over here. You have got something which is 2 and that falls under this particular area, which means we reject the null hypothesis. 2 is falling over here on the right, rejecting the null hypothesis. You are very happy. You are very happy when you reject the null hypothesis, because null hypothesis was something which was opposite of the statement that you have made. So when you reject the null hypothesis, you are very happy, and then you proclaim to the world that with a 95% confidence, I can say that the statement that I have made is statistically correct as well. This is what you are saying. So over here, this side, we reject the null hypothesis, and over here, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Remember, 2 is on the right of this 1.65, which is the critical value. So on the right of this critical value, it will be what? Reject the null hypothesis. And therefore, you are very happy. Test statistic is more than the critical value. We reject the null hypothesis. If the test statistic was less than the critical value, instead of 2, we would have got 1.1. Then it would be less than this critical value. Then we would have failed to reject the null hypothesis, and with a very small face, we would have to tell to the world that my statement has not statistically proved correct. The returns are not more than 4% for the whole stock, the 22,000 stocks. The returns may be less than 4%. This is what you will have to tell to the world. Fine. So this is what we did. Let me again summarize the 4 steps. First is state the hypothesis, null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis is something that should have an is equal to sign in it, and null hypothesis is something that we want to always reject. We will be very happy if we are statistically able to reject the null hypothesis. Null hypothesis will be opposite of what the statement that we have made. Step number 2 is calculate the test statistic. The test statistic for Z test or T test is going to be whatever the sample statistic is minus the hypothesized value divided by standard error, and standard error is standard deviation divided by root of n. The third one is determine the critical value based on the significance level. So whatever the significance level is, and whatever the you are using, one tail test or a two tail test, based on that come to a critical value. Once that is done, come to the fourth point, which is your compare the test statistic with the critical value and make a decision. If your test statistic is something which is out of the range, which is going above the critical value, or if say for example you were on this side of critical value minus 1.65, and if your test statistic was say for example minus 3.21, something which is further on the left of the critical value, then you reject the null hypothesis. Or say for example you have, if this is 1.65, say for example if it was a two tail test, on the right of 1.65, say for example 2.1 is what your answer that you have got, your test statistic, then in this particular case we are going to reject the null hypothesis over here. Remember, rejecting the null hypothesis is a blessing. It's a very good thing. You are very happy when you reject the null hypothesis. Correct? This is what your hypothesis testing is. We will move ahead. We will make certain variations in what we have understood. I hope this is very clear. If you have not understood hypothesis testing, please rewind, go behind and listen to the chapter, whatever the explanations that I have made, and only then you need to go ahead. Okay. Don't jump to the next thing until and unless you have understood whatever I have taught till now. We will move ahead. Let us move ahead. Now variation 1. What if the